Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Stakeholder Buy-In. The session this afternoon is going to be pretty interactive. We're going to have you moving around and talking, which means that we're going to be interrupting you and moving you on and things, because the session this afternoon is designed to give you a sort of taste of the experience. My name's Julie, and I am going to be chairing the session today, so I'm going to try and keep it on time as much as we possibly can. I am delighted, absolutely delighted this afternoon to introduce you to Mirjam Neelen and Connie Malamed. Mirjam is Dublin-based and is a learning experience designer for Accenture, but she informs me that she's here today as Mirjam. She has co-authored and published a book this week. So it's this one here. And she's going to be signing... She'll be selling and signing these outside at 5 o'clock after the session. So feel free to purchase and go by. That's the plug done.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mirjam is a strong advocate for evidence and evidence in design. And you can follow her blog and her podcast too. We're also delighted to have Connie with us this afternoon. Connie is known particularly for being the e-learning coach and has a blog and a podcast as well, so you can check that out for those of you who've not listened to or seen that before. She speaks and teaches design thinking all over the world. And we have a learning technology exclusive today because this session has been designed just for today. It's the first time they've both worked together over the last
And the last time,
weeks?
yes. Yeah, and the last time.
The last, yeah. It's also the last time. It's been fine. So over the last 6 weeks, they've been working really hard to distill this session down to something which we hope you will enjoy, and we hope that you'll get a lot out of. So without further ado, I shall hand over to you both and leave you in their capable hands.
Thank you very much, Julie. So welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for coming. I was just wondering, maybe you recognize this. Like, I've been working with a stakeholder who has been really lovely, very knowledgeable person. Yet we kept like running into this challenge where she kept pushing for virtual reality in the learning experience. And so I started by asking her, why is this so important to you? What are you trying to achieve? Why do you think that's the best solution? But somehow, like, we couldn't work it out, and it was like this friction, in our collaboration. And I and Connie as well, we feel that we're all dealing with different types of stakeholder challenges, and that's why we decided to design this workshop. So while talking about, all the different types of challenges that we were facing and we've heard other people talk about, we came up with like these 6 buckets of categories, and we're not claiming in any way that this is, what it should be, but we're just wondering who recognizes any of these like types of challenges. Okay, good. So, yeah. Well, our assumption was that if you are when you are attending this workshop, that you probably are facing stakeholder challenges and are looking for a way to kind of tackle those. So, what do we want to achieve today? What we want to do is we want to use design thinking methods to figure out what the challenge is that we're dealing with our stakeholders, and what types of, like, what is the real problem that we're trying to solve? What is behind that challenge? And then how are you going to come up with all kinds of solutions? And what we're hoping for is that collectively, using all our experience, intelligence, creativity, is that we can come up with a bunch of possible solutions that we can then all experiment with our stakeholders. So first, what you're going to do, like your teams, so the people you're sitting with at your table is a team. So there is a team behind there, like in the back of the room as well, I guess, or somehow we'll figure out like how you can like work with people, because everybody has their own stakeholder. And so first you're going to get to know your stakeholder. You get some time to like read through and get an idea, figure out what the challenge is with this stakeholder, come up with like ideas around, you know, what are possible solutions to play with. And then at the end, where hopefully can like, you know, walk around and take pictures of, you're going to put everything on your flip chart paper so that people can take pictures and, you know, use all those ideas when you come home.
So why would we be using design thinking? Because design thinking is a way to work in a collaborative environment like this and to come up with innovative solutions, perhaps more innovative than what you would normally think of. And we are going to use a kind of light version of design thinking that we can try to get everyone through quickly, and it's the double diamond method. It involves empathizing with your stakeholder or your user first, putting yourself in their shoes, then defining the problem so that you're working with the correct problem instead of trying to find a solution and going down the wrong path. The next phase is to ideate, and that's when you generate solutions to your problems, to the problem that you want to define. And finally, in design thinking, you will end up prototyping and testing your solution on users. And in this case, because we're doing this in a quick version session, you'll be sharing at the end. So the first phase is empathize. And normally in design thinking, you will be doing a lot of the work, but because we wanted to get you through the entire thing, we've done some of the work for you, so you can thank us for that. So the very first part is empathize, and that's when you put yourself in the shoes of the stakeholder. You put yourself in the shoes of the user so that you can really understand what they're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. And we are going to use an empathy map to try to better understand the user. And you can take these tools, it's a tool, and you can use it back at work. A lot of times what people say is different than what they think. What they do is different than what they say. So we have filled out this empathy map for you, and we want you to review the empathy map to better understand your stakeholders. So read the background information.
They just need handouts as well.
And read the empathy map, discuss it with your team, discuss your perceptions of the stakeholder with your team, and you've got 10 minutes for that. A few people need to write down their statements right away. Your HMW. Don't forget the buzzwords are very important. So when you leave here, you say, so what was your HMW statement? Very important. Okay.
Can I just quickly say something based on a question I just got from somebody in the audience? Really good question. Like, I was saying, like, when I build an empathy map like this, am I not just making assumptions? Like, I can only guess, right, what people feel. So that is true to a certain extent, right? Well, it's true to most extent if that's English. But so what you're trying to do is get input from different angles. So maybe other people are working with the same stakeholder, so you can ask for their observations or whatever. But yes, in the end, it's your interpretation of what you're seeing, and therefore you always need to be careful and prototype and test to test your assumptions. So I just.
And you can also do personas first. You can interview people. There's other things we're going through it on. This is the Firehouse version, whatever that means. Okay. The next phase of the double diamond is when you begin to diverge again. You're using divergent thinking to come up with solutions, to generate ideas and solutions to that problem you defined at the top of your page. And here's how we are going to do it. You know those stock photos with the sticky notes? That's going to be you. We want you to brainstorm quietly, brainstorm solutions of how to overcome the challenge that you've written down. You'll have 5 minutes to put one idea on each sticky note and put them on your paper. Okay, everyone, were you bold? Did you come up with bold solutions? How about moderately bold? Yes. Moderately bold. Bold within limits. Now, here's the next phase of ideation. You discuss the ideas with your group, and I know some people may have to stand up and come around and to be able to read them unless you're very good at reading upside down. Then as a group, as a team, vote on the best idea for overcoming the challenge with your stakeholder. So you're going to vote on the best idea for overcoming the challenge with your stakeholder. So remember that when you're voting. Think about what will help us overcome that challenge. Then write the idea that you selected on the flip chart so that when people go around and we do the gallery walk and people look at the different challenges and solutions, they can easily read it. Okay?
Just the one. You can only have one.
Yep. Pick one.
Yeah, so you discuss them first, and then you pick the one that you think is best. So usually what you do, right, in 1 second. So usually what you do, just one thing.
Hold on 1 second.
1 second. I just want to clarify. Usually what you do in real life is you end up with a bunch of ideas, and you need to decide which one you want to prototype and test first. So you can have different reasons for your prioritization. It can be speed, it can be risk, it can be whatever. So that doesn't really matter for now, but just that's what you're going to do. Discuss them all, explain what you mean by them, give some context to your team members, and then vote for the one that you think is best to start with for prototyping and testing.
What she said.
Off you go.
10 minutes.
Okay, so what you did, right, in the last 10 minutes is that first you ideated, right? You came up with a bunch of possible solutions to tackle the challenge that you're having with your stakeholder. And then you selected one that you can now start prototype and testing. So we are not going to do that today. I had some interesting discussions around what prototyping can look like, and can mean many different things. It can mean, framing a conversation and trying it out with somebody, get feedback. It can mean building, something very low fidelity and going to potential other stakeholders or people you trust and get feedback. So anyway, it can mean many different things. What we would like to do now, because we're actually quite good on time, is I would like to invite, okay, my English is going there. Invite, yeah, where's the, anyway. I'm going to ask one person, 3 tables, so 3 different stakeholders, because we have 3 different stakeholders, and I'm going to just appoint somebody, volunteer, and then please share who your stakeholder is. Just give some background on the stakeholder, some kind of like pointers for people to have some context. Then read out your how might we statement and give us like the solution that you selected. So that way you have at least an idea of what people came up with, and then after that we can do like the gallery walk, and you can just walk around and take pictures of all the good stuff that you all came up with. So I need a Jeremy table. Any volunteer? Any Jeremy volunteer? Yes.
We've got a Jeremy.
Woo-hoo. Jeremy. Woo!
Test.
Using.
Test.
Yes, hey, lovely.
You did it.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Losing the gum there. Okay, we looked at Jeremy, the trend chaser. He's really tech savvy, and he wants to let everybody join in the tech part. But we rephrased the question, the how might we question, for the other people who had Jeremy. It's the second one. And we made it into how might we explore what the impact of technology is on learning. We did that because we thought it was a bit of negative way that it was at first, so we rephrased it a little bit, but we thought the idea behind it is really good. And the way that we're gonna do it at first, the prototype test phase, is to create a learner-centered focus group to really catch the idea behind, who are we dealing with? What are their needs? What are their learning styles? So to find out more about that.
That is
Thank
great.
you. That's really
excellent.
A Lillian group.
Sorry, we had Jeremy, but we should focus.
Yeah, so if we have more time, we can do more Jeremys. But first we're going to do like a Lillian. But thank you for your willingness to share.
Hi everyone. So we had Lillian. Lillian was very focused on return on investment. She wanted to be able to see that this product or service was going to have that data behind it, and she was going to be able to prove that it was worth the financial investment. She also wants a promotion, and she wants to impress her boss. So she was very not interested in the learning experience, more interested in her own personal experience, which is fine, I guess, to some level. The question we picked was the last question, for those who've got Lillian. How might we help Lillian see that effective and engaging learning is likely to provide a positive return on investment through improved performance? We chose this because it spoke directly to that ROI piece that she really wanted to highlight. And our recommendation was look at case studies that focus on data analysing the return on investment that's previously been done for a similar product or service.
Oh, cool. Great. Wow, these are great solutions.
Danica, or Danika, or however you want to pronounce it. Where?
Here we have.
Oh, there we go.
Again, we've got one side of the room who seems to be more enthusiastic than the other.
No. I had people volunteer here, but they were Jeremy.
Hello. So our stakeholder is Danica. She's a deep expert in the subject, and she wants everyone to become an expert as much as she is. So she dumps everything that comes, the latest and greatest of the content, onto everyone, in the hope that they will become as expert as her, which is creating some confusion among the users because they don't know what to do with so much content. Okay. So, and she also gets distracted from the actual goals of the training program. So she's diverging from what is actually reasonable to become too much of content delivered. Okay. And the question what might we question is how might we work with Danica to map content to the objectives of the program and prioritize it. Okay, and we organize all the potential solutions and thoughts in 4 elements that can be organized in one solution, which is let's check with her the priorities in different ways and activities. Let's analyze or get input from and feedback from the users, and with these 2 chunks of information, compare results, what we are actually achieving, and then get into the implementation where we can get content more tailored to what is actually expected by the users and the program.
Nice, great, really good.
Thank you. Very good solution.
Are you guys still willing to share more, Jeremy?
Oh, I think we diverged entirely with Jeremy.
That's all right. Go ahead.
We're going back to Jeremy now, and Jeremy wanted a shiny new device because he loves technology. We spent most of our time...
Is the mic on?
Yeah, can you?
Okay, there we go.
We spent most of our time with Jeremy just trying to get down to the root cause of his problem. So while we empathised, we talked about a range of environmental factors that might be going on that might affect his staff's motivation, employee engagement, just really trying to drill down. where his workforce are, if they're mobile, whether they've got access to the internet, if this device needs the internet. So I think for us at the end, when we got to the ideas stage, it was about using the right diagnostic tool to try and get some of those answers. So we're not prototyping anything really, we're just diagnosing at this stage. Is there anything else? No. That's it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we can do one more, and then we're just gonna, well, maybe two. No, let's do like one more Lillian and one more Danica. I think that we have like a nice balance.
Anybody over here?
You will skip Jeremy.
Not Jeremy again.
Thanks very much. Got
I'm
Lillian
really tired
here.
of that guy.
Not literally.
So we had Lillian. Her primary focus was getting the project delivered on time and to budget. So she's interested in the project management. She wasn't interested in our fantastic ideas at all about how we were going to improve the business at the end of it. So therefore, the problem space was around how might we help Lillian see that an effective and engaging learning is likely to provide a positive return on investment through improved performance. And the first thing we came up with, similar to the other table, is around evidence. If you can have evidence about what the impact on the company would be, that's a primary thing. If she wasn't interested in that, so because her focus from the empathy map was really about herself, then how can the improved performance for the company reflect well on her? So she can still get her promotion, but she's going to have to take a little bit more risk doing so. There was then discussions around using exactly that approach, but if she still didn't get it, perhaps the stakeholder we need to go after is her boss or her boss's boss or so on all the way up. That's a risky thing to do because, of course, you're likely to be alienating her, or indeed perhaps potentially to go down to the learners and get the learners' feedback that doing it a different way is a better way to do it.
Thank you. Okay, one more Danica.
Wait, didn't he just do Danica?
Anyone here?
No, that was Lillian, right?
I get those two so confused.
No, they're so different, Connie.
All right, I've been passed the baton. All right, so we have Danica, and if you can't remember, Danica was just kind of like on an island by herself. She's felt kind of left behind as a subject matter expert. All of her materials are important to her, and she just keeps adding and adding more content in and changing things. And so what we did, we had the exact same answer actually for our question. So we said, how might we work with Danica to map content to the objectives and prioritize? So what we really wanted to do is bring Danica along as a partner because she does feel kind of left out on an island by herself. So we said, how do people do it now, and why do you think we need to change? So we wanted to really look at the situation and see what's going on and partner with Danica to help.
Really good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'd like to open it up to some questions. And a few things you can reflect on is, can you take this back to work, this approach? Is there something that you can do with your stakeholders that, you know, you've got some ideas today, some solutions to problems that you may be having, or questions about the methods? Anyone? How can you use it at work?
Oh,
Yeah.
Very close question.
So my aha moment is go and talk to other people that are talking to the same stakeholder and just find out what they think. Mm-hmm. And then you can sort of brainstorm and problem solve it together. So, you know, we're working in a village. We're not on our own. You know, go and work with others.
And that's great, yeah.
Thank you.
Good insight.
Okay, you're going to make me work for this.
She's getting her
Hello.
workout.
This is good, right? I'm going to earn my wine.
Is there any key advice you would have for working with stakeholders outside of learning and development on a learning and development project? So, yeah, because they would be the subject matter experts on the content, but they're not involved in training and developing these programs.
Is there a particular challenge that you are having with that?
Well, partly that they don't want to oversimplify the content and they don't necessarily understand the audience. And it's just that they haven't been involved in training programs and design and training before either.
Is that all?
No, there's so much more, but it's there's so much more. Trying to explain it to them.
Does anyone have a solution to that problem? Does anyone out here have a suggestion? Yes. Yep, that's you.
Don't really need a microphone, but anyway. In my experience, I think that, just as you said, a lot of people who don't work in L&D, they don't know what we do. And they've had good experiences, and they've had bad experiences, and they've had teachers who threw chalk at them, and they don't understand what's possible. So much like a salesperson selling carpets, for example, you have a swatch with different carpet samples, and you show them this is a blended solution, this is an e-learning only, this is interactive, this is passive. You give them a smorgasbord of these are the things that are possible, these are the timelines of how much time these things, they go, oh, I love that. Yeah, you can't afford that. Give them a rough idea of, a 3-piece bespoke Tom Ford suit or off the shelf from Primark. And give them some examples and show them, because they don't understand what we do. Sometimes we don't even understand what we do. But to give them an insight, to show them what's possible, because they might have never even experienced anything that we can do before. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do video animation with lip syncing in a week. Yes, right. We can, but you have to write a script. That's, and you give them some options. It's like a menu, we have vegan stuff. It'll be fine. So that's a little bit of insight.
Can I also ask you, sorry, do you feel that your problem is very different from Danica? Because to me it sounds very similar.
It's similar with the current stakeholder I'm working with, but then there's going to be about 15 other stakeholders eventually down the line. And it's just learning how to work with them all, and right. I think that's quite helpful in identifying each one.
I think it's a general rule to add on to what you were saying there, is that we have to educate our stakeholders. So there's a whole education process. And part of that education, especially for people who want to do an information dump, is them understanding how much people can process at one time. So we have to educate them in learning science and help them understand that people can only process a small amount of information at one time, and most of what they get they won't retain without continued learning interventions, learning chances. And sometimes that works.
Yeah, and also from the business side of things, really constantly pulling them back to this is what we're trying to achieve, I think is important as well.
Mel?
So something that we do, I don't know if everyone hears, so I'll just take it again.
Thank you.
So something that we do, and Bob Mosher talked about this morning, is the stakeholder is really the end goal. The SME is really the end goal. And so what we do is we involve the users in that analysis and design phase and get feedback from them. So we'll even record them going through the content and get their reaction and share it with the stakeholders. So that's been something that's been tremendously helpful.
Yeah, that's super.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was just going to suggest you could actually kind of create 2 versions of a course that talks about being a stakeholder. One you could do really short, highly visual, interactive or engaging little story, or you can do a version that has lots of information about L&D policy, why you have to do it a certain way, and then they can see the difference for themselves. So you're kind of educating them about being a stakeholder, but you're showing them 2 different versions. So, you only need to do kind of 10 slides, but that way you're really showing them and educating them at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's a great idea.
One more response.
I have one challenging situation that I want to share with you, with the stakeholders. Okay. My stakeholders they are a team of physicians, and we're developing learning module regarding immunization and vaccines. But they are very, although they are engaged, they are all engaged, they are very, their availability is not, is very
limited.
Yes. And so their review and feedback of all phases for storyboards and that it is delayed. And also there is another problem with them, that the team, in the physician's domain, there is a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right.
So they, although they have their own opinion and suggestions, in the team they expect their leader, their professor, to
make the
final decision, which again makes delays because the leader, the SME leader, is not available always. She's traveling all over the world. So if you have any suggestions with this,
I think we need a whole new workshop for this one.
Just put that one in on the end there, you know, nobody. Any suggestions or responses?
Yeah.
I have similar situations with my subject matter experts. They are normally coming from the area of sales or marketing. And what we do is from the beginning, we already implement one cycle that includes the peer group of the SMEs or the line managers, whoever is needed to sign certain things off. And the second thing I'm doing, if people don't have the time, I clearly communicate to them, actually, it's your benefit once that e-learning is out there because people will know more about what you are doing. So it's kind of a balance. Do I screw the timelines, meaning they will know at a later stage what you're doing? If this is the case, let's do it, and I have to push back on my other stakeholders. Or if you really want to work towards a certain timeline, then they need to be available.
Thank you so much. Please walk around, see all of the solutions, take some photographs, get some great ideas, and bring them back to work. Thank you so much.